The first night of my marriage, the moment I lifted my bride's veil, my heart didn't race, it sank. Standing in front of me was a dark-skinned black woman I had never imagined as my wife. My chest tightened. Anger rushed through my veins. For a split second, I swore I would end the marriage right there. But then, she fell to my feet, crying, begging. "Please, don't throw me out. You can marry someone else if you want. I'll stay quietly. I'll clean, cook, serve everyone. Just don't make me homeless." That night, I made a decision that would destroy lives. Before this story unfolds, make sure you like, subscribe, and we'd love to know where you're watching from. Drop your city and country in the comments. 3 years earlier, I'd returned to London after completing my education abroad. A master's degree, a sharp personality, a six-figure job waiting. My name was Daniel Wright, and in my family, I was the golden boy. While others worked retail or small jobs, my parents had sacrificed everything to send me overseas, and when I came back changed, confident, polished, arrogant. At the welcome dinner my mother threw, I noticed the looks, aunts whispering, mothers nudging their daughters. Everyone suddenly remembered we existed. That attention fed my ego. I started believing my future wife had to be perfect, beautiful, elegant, someone who matched my status. I judged women silently, compared them, dismissed them. When my mother, Linda Wright, mentioned marriage, I snapped. "I'll marry when I want, and I'll choose my own wife." Her smile faded. "Marriage isn't just about love, Daniel. Background matters, family matters. I won't let you ruin your future." We argued. Then, silence. A few weeks later, the house felt different. Laughter, movement, guests. In the living room stood a woman I didn't recognize. Warm smile, gentle eyes. She hugged me tightly. "My God, Daniel, look at you. You've grown into a man." That's when my mother explained. "This is Margaret Collins, my old friend. We go way back." Margaret had once been close to my mom. Life separated them. Different cities, different fortunes. Margaret's husband, Henry, stood quietly nearby. His clothes were simple, worn but clean. A man who carried dignity despite struggle. Something about the way my mother treated them surprised me. She was overly polite, overly generous. Later that night, my mother dropped the bomb. "They didn't come just to visit," she said. "They came with a proposal." Margaret had a daughter. Her name was Ariana Collins. My mother told me Ariana was kind, well-mannered, and raised with values. She praised her endlessly. I asked the obvious question, "Have I seen her?" My mother smiled, too calmly. "There's no need. I've seen her. She's good." That should have been my first warning, but my pride was louder than my instincts. I agreed. Preparations moved fast, too fast. I tried contacting the girl. No phone, no social media. They live simply, my mother said. I convinced myself that beauty would come with the wedding night. The ceremony was modest on their side, lavish on mine. Guests whispered. I noticed the lack of food, the simple decorations. Embarrassment burned inside me. But when Ariana was seated next to me, tall, graceful, face covered, I felt relief. She must be beautiful, I thought. The drive back home felt endless. By the time we reached my house, exhaustion wrapped around me, and anticipation. The room was decorated with flowers, soft lights, silence. She sat on the bed, hands folded, trembling slightly. I stepped forward, lifted the veil, and froze. Her skin was dark, her features plain, her smile hesitant. "This is what they hid," I muttered. My words shattered her. Tears welled up, her lips trembled. My anger exploded. "You're not what I was promised. I can't do this. I'll divorce you." That's when she slid off the bed and grabbed my feet. Her sobs echoed in the room. Please don't send me away. I felt disgust, confusion, rage. I walked out, but outside that room, my past was waiting, and so was the truth. I thought marrying another woman would fix everything. I thought beauty meant happiness, but I didn't know. This marriage was never about me. I thought I had been tricked into a bad marriage. I thought I was the victim. I didn't know yet. I was just a pawn in my mother's revenge. That night, I didn't sleep. I drove through empty streets, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. My wife's sobbing face kept flashing in my mind. Not because I felt love, but because I felt trapped. By the time I returned home, it was nearly dawn. The house was silent, except for one place, the living room. My mother sat on the couch, rosary beads slipping slowly through her fingers. She looked calm, too calm. She didn't ask where I had been. She didn't ask how my wedding night went. It was as if she already knew. "You're back early," she said softly. I clenched my jaw. You lied to me." She looked up. Her eyes were sharp, calculating. "I told you the girl was good, and she is. You told me she was beautiful. You let me marry her without even seeing her face." For the first time, my mother smiled. Not a warm smile, a cold one. Beauty fades, obedience doesn't. That sentence sent a chill down my spine. From that day on, Ariana became invisible. She woke up before sunrise, cooked, cleaned, laundered, spoke only when spoken to. If she made the smallest mistake, my mother's voice cut through the house like a blade. "Do it again! You're too slow! Did your mother teach you nothing?" And Ariana never talked back. I noticed bruises once, faint ones, hidden beneath sleeves. I noticed how she flinched when footsteps approached. But I told myself it wasn't my problem, because I had already decided this wasn't the woman I would spend my life with. A week later, my closest friend, Ethan Miller, invited me over. "You disappear after marriage and think I won't notice?" he laughed. "Bring your wife." I didn't want to, but refusing would raise questions. At his house, warmth filled the air, laughter, food, comfort. Ethan's younger sister, Lily Miller, came out carrying dishes, and suddenly everything stopped. She was breathtaking, soft curls framing her face, light skin glowing, gentle confidence in her movements. She smiled politely at Ariana. No judgment, no pity. But my heart, it betrayed me instantly. This was the woman I had imagined as my bride. That night, Lily's laughter echoed in my head, her kindness, her grace, and Ariana. She sat quietly beside me the entire time, serving everyone before herself. The next morning, I made my choice. I went straight to Ethan. "I want to marry your sister." He stared in disbelief. "You just got married." "That wasn't my choice. This is." He hesitated, but status has weight. Money has power. A week later, he agreed. When I told my mother, she didn't object. She simply said, "As long as your first wife agrees." I didn't even ask Ariana properly. I told her, "You'll stay, you'll take care of the house, Lily will be my wife." She lowered her eyes. "If that makes you happy, I won't stand in your way." Her calm broke something in me, but not enough to stop me.
Lily entered my life like sunshine. Designer clothes, parties, trips. I moved Ariana into a small storage room, her clothes thrown aside, her dignity forgotten. She worked harder than ever, while Lily enjoyed the life Ariana never had. And yet, Ariana never complained. Months later, Lily became pregnant. I was ecstatic. When my son was born, I felt complete for the first time. But something strange happened. In the middle of the night, when the baby cried, Lily turned away. Ariana came instead. She held my son gently, whispered prayers, rocked him until he slept. She loved a child that wasn't hers more than his own mother did. That disturbed me.
One night, I woke up to muffled sounds, crying, from the storage room. I followed the noise. What I saw froze my blood. My mother stood there. Ariana's hands were tied. My mother was screaming, not in anger, but in madness. "Your mother humiliated me," she yelled. "She mocked my poverty, and now God has brought you to my feet." Ariana collapsed, sobbing. "I brought you into this house not as a daughter-in-law, but as revenge." My legs gave out. It all made sense. This marriage was never about me, never about love. It was about old wounds and a daughter paying for her mother's sins. That night, I realized something terrifying. The ugliest person in my house wasn't my wife. I had spent years judging faces, skin tones, and appearances, but in one single night, I realized cruelty doesn't have a color. I stood there, frozen. My mother's words echoed in the small, suffocating room like poison. "This was never a marriage," she had screamed. "It was payback." Ariana lay on the floor, wrists red from the rope, eyes empty, not angry, not begging anymore, just broken. Something cracked inside my chest. Enough. My voice didn't even sound like mine. My mother turned toward me, shocked. "You don't understand," she snapped. "You weren't there when her mother humiliated me, when she laughed at my clothes, my house, my life." "That was between you and her," I said, my hands shaking. "Not her daughter." For the first time in my life, my mother had no answer. I rushed forward and untied Ariana's hands. She didn't cry, she didn't complain. She simply stood up and walked past me. But before leaving the room, she looked back. That look, it wasn't hatred, it was disappointment. And that hurt more than any slap ever could. That night, I couldn't sleep. I replayed everything. How easily I had discarded her. How quickly I had believed lies. How proudly I called myself better. Yet Ariana had fed my child, prayed for my house, endured humiliation in silence, while I had chased beauty in applause. In the mirror, I didn't like what I saw. The next morning, I made a decision, not to fix the past, but to stop destroying the present. I found Ariana in the kitchen, scrubbing pots. "Stop," I said quietly. She froze. "I'm sorry," I said. The words tasted heavy. "I failed you. I won't let this continue." She finally looked at me. Her eyes were tired, but hopeful. "I want you to have your own place, a safe space, peace, no yelling, no fear." Her lips trembled. "You don't have to do that," she whispered. "I do," I replied. "For the first time, I do." Within days, I rented a small house across town. Nothing fancy, but clean, quiet, warm. When Ariana stepped inside, she touched the walls like she didn't believe they were real. "Is this mine?" she asked softly. "Yes." She smiled. Not wide, not dramatic, but genuine, for the first time since our marriage. I started visiting often. At first, out of responsibility, then out of comfort. She would make tea, sit across from me, ask about my day. No bitterness, no accusations. Slowly, I noticed things I had never cared to see before. Her patience, her wisdom, her calm strength.
Back home,
She wasn't
things were different.
ugly.
Lily was
I
distant.
had been blind.
Complaints came easily. The baby cried often. When I suggested she spend time with our son, she sighed. "I'm tired," she said. "Hire help." And suddenly, I understood. Beauty without kindness is empty. One evening, Lily confronted me. "You're always at her place," she said sharply. "What is she to you now?" I answered honestly, "She's my wife." Her face went pale. My mother aged quickly after that. One night, she sat beside me and whispered, "I didn't mean to destroy lives." "But you did," I replied gently. Tears rolled down her face. "I forgot," she said, "that revenge burns the hand that holds it." I thought fixing things would bring peace. I was wrong, because the hardest test was still ahead, and it would force me to choose between love and pride. I had started to see the truth. I had begun to feel remorse, but remorse alone doesn't erase damage. Sometimes it demands a sacrifice. The more time I spent at Ariana's small rented house, the more my life began to split into two worlds. One house had luxury, noise, pride, and appearances. The other had silence, dignity, and peace, and I was standing right in the middle. One evening, as Ariana poured tea, she finally asked the question I had been avoiding. "Daniel," she said gently, "why are you doing this now?" I didn't answer immediately, because the truth was ugly. "I was wrong," I said at last, "and I don't want to be that man anymore." She nodded. "But regret doesn't undo what's been done," she replied calmly. Her words weren't angry, they were honest, and honesty hurt. At home, Lily's frustration grew. "You're never here," she accused. "People are talking." My mother, weaker now, added her own fear. "Society won't forgive you. Two wives living separately? Favoritism? This will destroy our reputation." For the first time in my life, reputation didn't matter more than conscience. That night, I sat alone. I thought about Ariana, her quiet strength, her prayers whispered in the dark. Then I thought about Lily, beauty, excitement, but distance. I asked myself a question I had never dared to ask before. If all appearances disappeared, who would I still choose? The answer terrified me. The next morning, I gathered everyone. My mother, Lily, Ariana. My hands were shaking. "I can't live two lives," I said. "I won't keep hurting people to protect my image." Lily's eyes widened. "I will continue to support our son," I continued, "but I can't continue this marriage the way it is." Silence crashed into the room. "You're choosing her?" Lily whispered. "I'm choosing what's right," I replied. Lily cried, screamed, accused. "You humiliated me. You used me." And she wasn't entirely wrong. I had. Arrangements were made quietly. I ensured her financial security, my son's future. But love, it couldn't be forced. Later that day, I visited Ariana. She listened silently. When she finished, she asked only one thing. "Are you doing this out of guilt or respect?" That question shook me. "Both," I admitted. She took a deep breath. "Then start by giving me dignity, not pity." For the first time, Ariana spoke with confidence, no bowed head, no fear. And I realized something powerful. When someone survives injustice long enough, they don't need saving. They need recognition. That evening, my mother held Ariana's hands. "I hurt you for something you never did," she whispered. "I can't erase that, but I ask forgiveness." Ariana didn't respond immediately. Then she said, "Forgiveness doesn't come from words, it comes from change." I thought choosing right would end the pain. I was wrong, because doing the right thing doesn't protect you from loss, it just teaches you how to survive it. I finally chose conscience over pride. I finally chose dignity over desire. But no one tells you this. Doing the right thing doesn't come free. When Lily left the house with our son, the silence that followed was heavier than any argument we had ever had. No yelling, no slamming doors, just emptiness. I stood in the doorway long after her car disappeared, realizing something painful. I hadn't just lost a wife, I had lost the version of myself I pretended to be. It didn't take long. Family gatherings grew awkward, calls stopped coming, invitations quietly disappeared. People didn't ask what happened, they assumed. At work, I felt it too. Colleagues who once praised me now watched me carefully. A few complaints surfaced, subtle, strategic. Reputation, once cracked, spreads fast. And my mother? She carried the weight of it all. "I wanted justice," she said one night, "but I created chaos." Her voice shook. "I raised you better than this." I looked at her and answered quietly, "You raised me to succeed. You forgot to teach me compassion." She had no reply.
Ariana changed after everything came into the open. Not louder, not aggressive, stronger. She began volunteering at a community center, teaching, helping. People respected her, not because of me, but because of who she was. Watching her, I felt both pride and shame. She was rebuilding herself. I was still repairing ruins. One afternoon, I visited Ariana with groceries. She thanked me politely, but something was different. "You don't have to keep doing this," she said gently. "What do you mean?" "You're trying to make up for the past," she continued, "but healing doesn't work that way." Her words stung. "I don't need rescuing anymore," she said. "I need space to choose my life." That scared me, because for the first time, I wasn't needed. Nights became long. No applause, no validation, just reflection. I replayed moments, the insults, the neglect, the silence. I realized something cruel. People like me don't hurt others because we're evil. We hurt because we're comfortable. Comfort had blinded me. One evening, a letter arrived. From Lily. She wrote calmly, no anger. She thanked me for supporting our son. She told me she was moving on. "I hope you become the man you pretended to be," she wrote. That line shattered me. Stress took its toll on my mother. Her health worsened. Sitting beside her hospital bed, she whispered, "I wanted to punish my past, and I destroyed my future." I held her hand. "We can still change," I said, "even now." She smiled weakly. "Make sure Ariana never pays for my mistakes again." That night, I sat alone in Ariana's empty house. She had gone to stay with a friend. The silence spoke louder than words. I finally understood. Redemption isn't about grand gestures. It's about letting people go, even when it hurts. I thought accountability meant fixing everything. I was wrong. Sometimes accountability means accepting you can't. I thought letting go would bring relief. Instead, it brought fear, because the moment she stopped needing me was the moment I realized how much I needed her. Ariana didn't call for days, no messages, no updates. At first, I told myself I deserved it. Then the silence started to suffocate me. One afternoon, my phone rang. It was Ariana. Her voice was calm, steadier than I had ever heard it. "I'm moving," she said. My heart skipped. "Moving where?" "To another state. I've been accepted in a training program. Social work." I couldn't speak. This is something I've wanted for a long time. I delayed my life enough. I swallowed hard. "When were you going to tell me?" "I am telling you. I'm not asking." That night, I drove aimlessly. Years ago, I had decided her life for her. Now, she was deciding it herself. And somehow, that hurt more than rejection. We met at her house. Boxes were stacked neatly, everything organized, no chaos, no bitterness. "I'm proud of you," I said, forcing a smile. She nodded. "I needed to hear that, but I don't need permission anymore." There was no anger in her tone, only clarity. Before I left, she handed me an envelope. "I wrote this a long time ago. I never planned to give it to you." I opened it later. Inside were pages of her thoughts, nights of fear, humiliation, silent prayers. One line burned into my chest. "I stayed quiet because I thought patience was love. Now I know love doesn't require self-erasure." I broke down. A week later, my mother passed away quietly. Before she died, she held my hand. "Tell Ariana she was stronger than all of us," she whispered. I promised. On the day Ariana left, I stood at the station. She carried one suitcase, nothing else. "I hope you find peace," she said. "You already have," I replied. She smiled, free, unburdened, and walked away. I went back to an empty house, but for the first time, the emptiness wasn't punishment. It was a lesson. I thought losing her was the end of the story. I was wrong, because sometimes life gives you one last chance to make things right.
I had lost her once because of pride. I lost her again because of silence. I thought that was the end, but life had one more twist waiting. Months passed, not weeks, not days, months. The house stayed quiet. The routines stayed mechanical. I worked, returned home, slept, repeated. I didn't chase anyone anymore. I didn't beg forgiveness from the universe. I just lived with the truth. Something strange happened in that silence. I stopped performing. No fancy clothes, no need to impress. I started volunteering, not because Ariana had, but because I needed to understand people again. I listened more, judged less. For the first time in my life, I wasn't trying to be admired. I was trying to be useful. One evening, an envelope arrived. No return address. Inside was a single page. "I heard you've changed.
I didn't believe it at first, but growth doesn't announce itself, it shows quietly. My heart pounded. It was Ariana. She wrote about her new life, her studies, her independence. Then she wrote something that stunned me. I don't miss the pain. I don't miss the silence, but I miss the man you're becoming. I read that line again and again. At the bottom of the letter, if you are willing to meet, not as husband and wife, but as two equal humans, come next Saturday. No pressure, no expectations, just choice. We met at a small cafe. She looked different, confident, grounded, not someone surviving, someone living. We talked for hours, no apologies, no accusations, just honesty. Before leaving, she asked, "Why now?" I answered without hesitation, because I finally learned that love isn't possession, it's protection, even from yourself. She nodded slowly. I don't know what this means yet, but I know one thing. She paused. I will never go back to who I was. And I respected that. I thought reconciliation meant returning to the past. I was wrong, because what awaited us wasn't a reunion, it was a rebirth. Some love stories begin with attraction, some begin with passion. Ours began with injustice and ended with choice. When Ariana and I met again, there were no promises, no labels, no expectations, just honesty, raw and uncomfortable. And that honesty changed everything. We sat across from each other in that small cafe, weeks after the first meeting. She looked at me and said something I will never forget. I don't need a husband. I need respect. I nodded. Then let's start there, I said. No pressure, no ownership. For the first time, we were equals. We didn't move in together. We didn't announce anything. We talked, walked, laughed. Slowly, carefully. I listened more than I spoke, and when I spoke, I meant every word. She shared her dreams, her fears, her boundaries, and I respected them, even when it hurt. One evening, months later, she invited me to attend her graduation ceremony. As I watched her walk across the stage, confident, strong, radiant, I realized something profound. The woman I once rejected had become someone I deeply admired. Not because she endured pain, but because she rose beyond it. After the ceremony, we sat quietly. She needs to ask me something, she said. My heart raced. Why do you still want me? I answered honestly, because you taught me what love isn't, and then showed me what it could be. She closed her eyes for a moment, then said, I'll walk beside you, but never behind you. I smiled through tears. That's all I ever wanted. We didn't rush into marriage. We chose partnership, respect, boundaries, growth. And this time, it was real. If you take anything from this story, take this. Never judge someone by skin tone, status, or silence. Never confuse beauty with worth, and never punish someone for wounds they didn't cause. The strongest people aren't the loudest. They're the ones who survive quietly and still choose kindness. If this story touched you, if it made you reflect, if it changed how you see people, like this video, subscribe for more real stories, comment respect to spread this message, because healing starts with awareness.
And sometimes, love comes after the lesson.